خير الراحمين. ربنا ظلمنا انفسنا وان لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. اللهم نسالك رضاك والجنه ونعوذ بك من سخطك والنار وانك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. Just as I get set up here, inshallah, I missed you all from last week, so hopefully everyone had a good break, inshallah. Just a quick reminder, not on the topic of Surah Yusuf, but a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he teaches us, ﷺ, he says, because we're all here in the masjid, it's, 36 degrees outside, it's very cold, we probably left the warmth of our homes and, whatever we were doing, and we decided to come over. The Prophet ﷺ has a hadith where he says, مَنْ سَلَكَ طَرِيقًا يَلْتَمِسُ فِيهِ عِلْمًا سَهَّلَ اللَّهُ لَهُ بِهِ طَرِيقًا إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. مَنْ سَلَكَ طَرِيقًا يَلْتَمِسُ فِيهِ عِلْمًا سَهَّلَ اللَّهُ لَهُ بِهِ طَرِيقًا إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. SubhanAllah, this means that, we're all here as seekers of knowledge. We're all here as students of knowledge, And the Prophet teaches us, this is part of the encouragement of Islam, to seek knowledge. Knowledge of deen and knowledge of dunya. Both are respected in Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق. Many of the Mufassirin, they said, the first اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق is to learn knowledge of Allah. Learn knowledge of Allah. باسم ربك الذي خلق. What? Sharia and fiqh and hadith and seerah is all comprised in the first one. خلق الإنسان. اقرأ باسم ربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم. The second اقرأ has to do with knowledge of dunya, engineering and medicine and science. In other words, this ummah is a knowledgeable ummah. And the Prophet ﷺ says, seekers of knowledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it easy for them to enter into Jannah. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us all from amongst those people. So, inshallah, back to Surah Yusuf, and you'll have to tell me where we left off because I forgot. I seem to remember when the brothers got the grain back and they went back to their father, right? And if I'm wrong, please tell me. He goes back. They go back to their father, and they find that the grain has been given back to them, right? They go and they meet Yusuf alayhi salam. They don't know who he is, and when they go back to their houses, they find that everything is complete the way it was, right? This is ayah number 65. Ayah number 65. So now ayah number 66. So what happened? Just as a reminder, when they went to take the grain from Egypt, now the famine is all over the land. The famine is in the region. It's a regional famine. And the only place they can go get food is they go to Egypt, and Yusuf alayhi salam is in control of the economy, of the warehouses, of the distribution system, right? And they get their stuff and they go back, and he gives them a condition. What was the condition that he gives them when they went? To bring the brother, right? So, we said, like, you could think of it like he does this passport check. Here, you say you're a family of this, where's this guy? Next time you come, you better have him with you, or you're not getting any more food. You're not getting any more food, like I'm trusting, but next time you better have him. So now they go back to the father. So this is now ayah number 66. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قال لن أرسله معكم حتى تؤتوني موثقا من الله لتأتونني به إلا أن يحاط بكم فلما أتوه موثقهم قال الله على ما نقول وكيل. So Yaqub now responds to the brothers. Yaqub sees that these boys are speaking the truth. This man that they met in Egypt that gave them back their trade things, he seems to be an honest person. He seems to be a good person by the reference of everyone. So now he's talking about his other favorite son, right? His other young son. He says, the only way I'm going to give you this boy, Binyamin, with you, is if you swear by Allah to bring him back safely. To swear by Allah to bring him back safely. As Muslims, when we come to make a contract, it's sufficient for you to swear to someone, if you're entering a business transaction, for example, to say, Wallahi, I'm going to do this. This should be sufficient for us. Unfortunately, modern day Muslim societies, not everyone is honest. So you need contracts and you need legal proceedings. But normally that's sufficient. That's sufficient, right? When you give someone your word, that should be sufficient. So Yaqub alayhi salam this time says, you have to swear an oath by Allah that you bring the boy back safely with you. إِلَّا أَن يُحَاطَ بِكُمْ. What does that mean? إِلَّا أَن يُحَاطَ بِكُمْ. Unless you are surrounded or overpowered. You're under a set of circumstances you cannot control. Let's say this long caravan from Palestine to Egypt, bandits come up and they all have weapons and they take your, and you try to defend yourself and you get hurt, or that's fine. That's outside of your control. I understand that. But under no other circumstances are you to not take care of him. You have to bring him back safely, right? You have to bring him back. You have to bring him back safely. Now the boys know that their father is a messenger. The boys themselves understand deen. They understand Sharia. They understand what it is to make an oath to Allah, right? So now they're taking this seriously. Right? And ayah number 67. So they come to their father and they give them back the oath. They say they make the oath and they're ready to. So now he gives them advice. So this is Yaqub alayhi salam, ayah number 67. وقال يا بني لا تدخلوا من باب واحد وادخلوا من أبواب متفرقة وما أغني عنكم من الله من شيء إن الحكم إلا لله عليه توكلت وعليه فليتوكل المتوكلون. So now he gives them this advice. He says, my sons, he instructed them, when you go back to Egypt, do not enter through one gate. Enter from different gates. And I cannot protect you from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has destined for you. It is only Allah who decides. In Him I put my trust, and in Him let the faithful put their trust. What does that mean? Why does He say enter from different gates? Why does He say that? Yes?
Because so the people, when they see that a lot of people come along groups, they're going to say, oh my God, whoever this person has these much sons, you're going to hasad.
MashaAllah, that's perfect. Beautiful. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. So this brother nailed it. He gets the 1,000 points for that answer. Because he doesn't want to attract attention. He doesn't want his boys to say, MashaAllah, people have pride in wealth and they have pride in families. The father has 10 boys, 12 boys, and they're all, MashaAllah, beautiful boys, big boys, handsome boys, and they're coming over. He says, listen, don't attract attention to you. Go in the city from different gates. And does anyone understand this notion of different gates of the city? Cities used to be surrounded by walls. Right, cities, especially the old days, cities are surrounded by walls. There's like a big wall, and then you enter the cities from different gates that they open up and they let you in. Think of it like different border crossings, right? And so the gates are open. So he said, don't attract attention going from one. Even if you go, by the way, many of the old cities have this today. Like Cairo has, they have these doors. These neighborhoods that have, the wall doesn't exist, but you know that this used to be an entrance to the city in the past. Even the European cities have this, right? Like it's also famous in many of the older cities, this concept of doors, right? So he says, don't go in so that you don't attract attention to yourself. So let me ask a question here. So this notion of hasad, do we believe this in Islam? Do we believe that this is a thing?
Yes.
Can people be impacted by hasad? Absolutely. Absolutely can be impacted by hasad. And the Prophet ﷺ tells us about it. And that's why, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reveals the ayat, right? To protect us and protect our families from al-hasad, right? And there are many hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that say, the evil eye could be unintentional, by the way. It doesn't have to be intentional. It doesn't have to be someone wishes you evil. It could be, but it could be completely unintentional. Someone looks at this and there's a little bit of envy, but it just happens. Someone has an accident, let's say with a new car. It doesn't mean that it's intentional. That it can happen in an unintentional way, and it's not a superstition. So we are to recite, for example, Surah Al-Falaq. Now, what is the reason for the evil eye? What is the reason of hasad? Why do people have hasad?
Because they get jealous.
Get jealous, dude. You're on the ball tonight. Jealousy, right? People have jealousy, right? So this is a thing. So let's say you see something. What grade are you in? What grade are you in school? Third grade? MashaAllah. Okay, so I don't know what the thing is with third graders these days. My kids are older. What is it, like Xbox One S type of thing? Or no? That's not that? Okay. So let's say your friend has a sports car, and you want the sports car. And you see the sports car. And you want to protect your friend from your evil eye against the sports car. You get it? Or a bike, sports bike. What do you do? What do you say when you see it? So your friend next door just got a sports bike, And you see it, yes.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. You should come and teach the class next time, inshallah. So yeah, we say mashallah. We say mashallah. And this like neutralizes any potential intentional, unintentional hasad that we may have in our hearts. You say mashallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you barakah, and you think mashallah, this is beautiful. Just mashallah, it neutralizes the effects of it. Hasad acts as a type of fire. It's a type of fire in the heart, right? Okay. So this is what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam teaches us, and we can also make dua for us to have something similar. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless, give me barakah in my business in the same way that you gave this brother barakah in their business, right? There's also a dua of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we should memorize, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam teaches us to say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min kulli shaytanin wa hamma وكل عين لامة اللهم إني أعوذ بك من كل شيطان وهامة. So he used to make dua, oh ya Allah, I seek refuge in your perfect words from every devil and poisonous pests and every evil eye, every type of shaitan and every type of snake or whatever, and this notion of the evil eye, right? This notion of the evil eye. Now there's also a prescription that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives us. By the way, is there evidence of this happening in the Quran?
Yeah.
Yes, where? Surah Al-Kahf, mashallah alayk. Here's another brother, mashallah, he gets the next 1,000 points. Surah Al-Kahf, right? Because what does the one owner of the garden tell his friend, tell his neighbor? When you enter into your garden, this beautiful garden that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you, you don't sit there and say, this is because I'm so smart. This is because of how amazing I am. This is because of this powerful business I built, this empire. You should say, MashaAllah, this is from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me with, right? Now, the prescription from the Prophet ﷺ is the following. He says, when one is afflicted with the evil eye, there's also a physical cure, which is washing with wudu in case the person is known that affected the evil eye. Washing with wudu of the person that actually caused that, right? With the evil eye, and effectively perform wudu, and the one afflicted should collect the wudu water, drip from the person's limbs, and then wash with it, right? And this is why Yaqub alayhi salam, he says in this ayah, going back to the ayah, he said, وَمَا أُغْنِي عَنْكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ إِن شَيْءٍ. I can only advise you, I can only give a prescription, but ultimately whatever Allah wills is what's going to happen, right? And by the way, he uses this word, إِنِ الْحُكْمُ إِلَّا لِلَّهِ. What is hukm? إِنِ الْحُكْمُ إِلَّا لِلَّهِ. Wisdom and power and
governance.
And yes, here on Quran al-Hakim. What is hukm? Hakim, hukm. Wisdom is one definition. The other. Judgment. The other. Judgment. Allah's decree. If you go to Egypt now, when you go to a courthouse, it's called mahkama. Mahkama. It's a place where laws are given or decrees are given, right? No? العدل دي قصة ثانية. لكن anyway, it's called the محكمة. لكن anyway, so in الحكم means judgment is only to Allah. No one affects what Allah is going to prescribe. عليه توكلت وعليه فليتوكل المتوكلون. So another advice for us and his boys: make tawakkul on Allah all the time. Whatever we're doing, big task or little task. Sometimes we think tawakkul is only you're going on a long trip, but tawakkul is for everything we do. Tawakkul is every small project, big projects, right? You say Bismillah tawakkaltu ala Allah, right? Bismillah tawakkaltu ala Allah. So now ayah number 16. وَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا. What does وَلَمَّا indicate? وَلَمَّا, beginning of the ayah. وَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا. Yes. When they entered, meaning it took a long time to get there. It's a long trip. وَلَمَّا. Got on their camels, they picked up their stuff, they loaded up their food, they loaded up their water, they went through the desert. 6 months later, they're at the city, right? This is what دخلوا من حيث أمرهم أبوهم ما كان يغني عنهم من الله من شيء إلا حاجة في نفس يعقوب قضاها وإنه لذو علم لما علمناه ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. Then when they entered as their father had instructed them, this did not help them against the will of Allah whatsoever. It was just a desire in the heart of Yaqub, which he satisfied, meaning to tell his children to protect themselves. He was truly blessed with great knowledge because of what he had taught him. But most people have no knowledge. Most people have no knowledge, right? Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says he was truly blessed, meaning Yaqub alayhi salam, with knowledge that we have taught him. This notion of ilm in Islam is very important, right? So Allah praised Yaqub with knowledge. So someone can have knowledge. What's the next level of knowledge? To get the knowledge and understand the knowledge. What's the third level? To get the knowledge, understand the knowledge, and act upon the knowledge. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about Yaqub alayhi salam, وَإِنَّهُ لَذُو عِلْمٍ لِمَا عَلَّمْنَاهُ, means he got the knowledge, he understood the knowledge, and he applied the knowledge. Right? إِنَّهُ لَذُو عِلْمٍ لِمَا عَلَّمْنَاهُ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. And this is from the tafsir of Sayyidina Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. Okay. Now we're going to move into a new scene where he's going to play a bit of a trick with his brothers, right? Yusuf is going to play a trick with his brothers. So ayah number 69. ولما دخلوا على يوسف آوى إليه أخاه قال إني أنا أخوك فلا تبتئس بما كانوا يعملون. So now they go back for the trip and they say, here's the young brother. Here's our brother. You asked for him to see him, here he is, right? When they entered Yusuf's presence, he called his brother Binyamin aside and he says to him, Yusuf says to Binyamin, pay attention to the words Yusuf is saying. He says, Inni ana akhuk. Inni ana akhuk. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Yusuf alayhi salam could have said, Inni akhuk. Or he could have said, Ana akhuk. You understand? In Arabic. I'm your brother. Right? But Yusuf alayhi salam says, Inni ana akhuk. Why does he say that?
To emphasize, to confirm.
To?
Emphasize.
Emphasize. Why is he emphasizing? Why is he emphasizing? So he pulls him aside and he says, Inni ana akhuk. What's going on?
Doesn't remember him?
Because? He doesn't remember him. Remember, Yusuf left. He was a young boy. Yusuf was young and his brother was young. It's like, he completely changed. I don't know who you are. Right? So he pulls him and says, no, I'm really your brother. I am really your brother. You know, I know how the other brothers have been treating you. They did the same thing to me. They took me, they threw me in the well, blah, blah, blah. He tells them, right? So he's trying to inspire confidence in him that I'm going to take care of you. I am really your brother, right? إِنِّي أَنَا أَخُوكَ فَلَا تَبْتَئِسْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. Do not feel distressed about what they have been doing. What they have been doing. So what does that mean? Do not be distressed about what they have been doing. Yeah, because they've been mistreating Binyamin, they've been like slapping him around as well, the same way they did with Yusuf. Like, you know, they were one clan and the other two boys were from a different clan. So Yusuf ﷺ knows, he's been through that treatment, right? So he says, don't be upset, don't be distressed about what they were doing to you, right? Okay. And and then after that, now, by the way, there's two opinions about what's about to happen. One opinion is this, all wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So completely valid opinion. The other is it was Yusuf alayhi salam that came up with the plan. Both are valid opinions, right? It's wahi or it's from Yusuf's kind of thinking. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, thus we did a plan for Yusuf. Seeming to indicate that this was a wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about what he should be doing, right? How he should be doing. فلما جهزهم بجهازهم جعل السقاية في رحل أخيه ثم أذن مؤذن أيتها العير إنكم لسارقون. So after they load up the caravan, or the brothers, what happens? Because basically the alarm bells goes off, right? So here in English it says, then a herald cried, "Oh, people of the caravan, you must be thieves." The alarms went off. You know, do you think like the caravan's about to move? Someone jumps out, wait a minute, something's been stolen, stop the caravan. Right? The guards come out, everyone's rushing, people are now, what's going on? There's agitation going on, there's tension in the system. But what is this siqaya? Yes.
It's the cup of the king.
MashaAllah, the cup of the king. Okay. So let's talk about that a little bit more. Now it's going to get harder, okay? So watch out. How did they get the cup of the king? Yes. No, Yusuf didn't give it to them. He planted it on them. That's different. It's different. But my question, let me answer your question in a very precise way. How could the cup of the king be stolen from a bunch of caravans and foreigners coming through Egypt? How could that ever happen?
He had invited them to eat.
The wine, the guy who poured the wine.
The one guy who poured the wine, okay. So the guy himself, they grabbed the guy, beat him up, and took it.
He's a cellmate of his
No. It's not that guy. It's not that guy.
Yusuf alayhi salam has invited brothers for food.
Oh, so he invited them for food, so they stole it? Okay, possibly. Anything else? So let me, huh? No, Saqaya is not another meaning. Saqaya is a cup. And whether it's a cup of wine or, but most of the Mufassirin say it's a measuring cup. In fact, one of the Mufassirin actually says that all of the companions had such a cup. Right? It's a cup we used to measure grain. Right? Now, the access that they have is the following. So think about a major building complex. The caravan, and remember, these are what are they? They're foreign caravans. They don't come in the same way the rest of the country does. They get special treatment, right? So they're foreign dignitaries. So they come through a process where there's customs, there's immigration, and they're like, stop, what do you have? Okay, you're trading these things, you get this grade, how many people do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, okay, you get this much stuff, we load up the camels. But the whole time they're bound in a section of the country that has official stuff. You understand? If you go across the border in Canada, let me give you another example. Has anyone ever been through the Peace Arch before? Has anyone stopped at the Peace Arch? Has anyone gone in the Canadian buildings on the Peace Arch? Okay, if you go inside, here's what you find. You'll find like a Canadian flag, a moose, a maple leaf. You understand? Now, those are, what are they? They're symbols of the country. So another example, better one, let's say you're a foreign dignitary that went to the White House. Okay, I've never been to the White House, but just, I know that when you walk in, they have a room that has like a bunch of paintings, for example, of the old presidents, right? And they have like special things, oh, this is the sword of George Washington, and this is the cup of Abraham Lincoln, and this is, and it's like a museum type of thing, because it's symbols of the country. So this measuring cup was a symbol of the country. And it's accessible to the people that are coming in through it. So it's conceivable that someone sneaked in at night or whatever, stole it from the little thing and took it back. You understand? That's kind of the logic of what's going on. Okay. So, all people of the caravan, you must be thieves, right? And this just kind of goes off, and it's just like someone saying thief, right? So the bull has gone missing. Listen to this ayah number 71. قالوا وأقبلوا عليهم ماذا تفقدون. The whole Quran is beautiful, but this ayah is one of the most beautiful ayah. قالوا وأقبلوا عليهم. You know what this is? Here, look at this for a second. This is an ayah of action. It actually projects the image of what happened. So they're walking in one direction, meaning to the caravan. Like they're about to get into the truck and get going, and then they turn around and they say, what happened? What do you mean? What's going on? This is exactly what this ayah means. The projection is of what they did. قَالُوا وَأَقْبَلُوا عَلَيْهِمْ. They were walking in one direction, they turned around and they walked to them like, what are you missing? What's going on? Right? So the boys themselves don't know. This is part of the beauty of the Quranic speech, is that you can see the action of actually what's happening in front of you. It's not just a matter of understanding the words. What are you missing? So they respond and they say, قَوْلُ نَفْقِدُ صُوَعَ الْمَلِكِ وَلِمَنْ جَاءَ بِهِ حِمْلُ بَعِيرٍ وَأَنَا بِهِ زَعِيمٌ. So the herald among the guards, the chief guard, who walks up to them and he says, we are missing the cup of the king. We've lost the king's measuring cup. And whoever brings it will be awarded a camel load of grain. Now, a camel load of grain is a lot of money. It's a lot of grain. At a time when you have a drought, at a time when people can't eat, that's a lot of food. That's worth something. وَأَنَا بِهِ زَعِيمٌ means I guarantee it. I guarantee that you're not going to get it. Okay. So a couple things. There's a fiqhi meaning of this, which is the notion of that you can actually offer a reward for something. You can actually offer a reward for something to be fulfilled, because this is what's happening here. I can offer you a reward if you find me the king's measuring cup in this particular example, right? You can also say something like, I will pay you $10 an hour, or I will pay you $10 for this product. But both the offer and the required labor or merchandise are specified. Right? This is something that can be done. But there are instances where you don't know the amount that you needed until you complete the task, and you determine that at the end. So you're going to get a bonus. So you're going to get a bonus. How much is the bonus? I don't know. It depends on how much effort it's going to take. You understand? So this is another thing that has been derived from that perspective, right? Another benefit of this incident is, this last part of the ayah, is in Islam it's permissible to have a guarantor. You know what a guarantor is in English? So someone goes to lease a car, a brother goes to lease a car, and they have no credit history in the country. So what does the dealership say? They say, hey, bring someone that can guarantee you.
Like cosigner?
A cosigner, mashallah. That's halal. And this is why Nabi Zayn. I will guarantee it. I will co-sign that this is in fact, I will take care of it, right? So this is the other benefit that we get from this thing. Nabi Zayn. So Yusuf's brothers replied, and what did they say? So they say, look, you know, wallahi, we did not come. You know, ما جئنا لنفسد في الأرض. وما كنا سارقين. So they say, pay attention to their words. They say, you know well that we did not come to cause trouble in the land or that we are thieves. Okay? You get what they said? So there's two words here being used. نفسد في الأرض, سارقين. Because thievery is part of corruption. So fasad fil ard means corruption in the land. If you have a country where everyone's a thief, it's a corrupt place. You understand? If you have an economy where 3 or 4 people take control of the whole thing and 99% of the population doesn't get to participate, it's corruption. This is part of corruption in the land. Right? So the brothers understand well. And this is actually a good opinion that they offer. We didn't come here to steal. We didn't come here to cause trouble. You guys know, and we know that this trouble is corruption. We didn't come here to spread corruption, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us here that this notion of fasad is actually corruption, right? And the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah curses the thief who steals, right? Allah curses the thief who steals. Okay. قالوا. So now who's being asked? قالوا فما جزاؤه إن كنتم كاذبين. So now the guards are speaking to the brothers. So what happens if we find him? You know we're going to search all these caravans. What happens if we find him? Right? What would you do if you find him? Right? Okay. And you'll find out why this question is important in a minute. قالوا جزاؤه من وجد في رحله فهو جزاؤه كذلك نجزي الظالمين. So Yusuf's brothers responded, the price will be فهو جزاؤه. What is فهو جزاؤه?
He will be taken in the street.
He will be taken. Did you guys hear that? Do you guys hear that? What he said is exactly right.
This is their sharia.
This is their sharia. This is their sharia. That's why they asked them the question. Why? Why did Yusuf make them ask the question? Ask them what's going to happen to them.
Because he knows their sharia that the
brother
punishment is taken.
He could keep Benjamin, and because the laws of Egypt, if you're a foreigner, was you're going to get he didn't want this to happen to the brother. If I'm going to apply local law to you, my local law, Kufar at the time, is they get whipped or they get beaten up or they get tortured, especially because they don't have any permanent resident status. You understand? So they're at a complete disadvantage. So he wants to elevate the brother. He says, what would you do? Well, what we do is you capture him as a slave. He's like, okay, we'll go with that. I'll take him as a slave. If we find him, I get to keep that person as a slave. So it's actually better for the brother. You understand? It's better for the brother, right? That this is the sharia that they follow. قال جزاؤه من وجد في رحمه فهو جزاؤه كذلك نجزي الظالمين. This is how we punish the wrongdoers, right? This is in the Bani Israel. فبدأ بأوعيتهم قبل وعاء أخيه ثم استخرجها من وعاء أخيه. So they start the search with whose stuff, whose baggage? The baggage of the brothers. And then they find it in the bag of the brother. You understand? Why does he make them start with the ones of the brothers? Why? To make it natural. Otherwise it would be too obvious. Oh, look, we found it. You know, the first place, oh, look, we found it, right? To make it. Now look at the word Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses. ثُمَّ اسْتَخْرَجَهَا. إِسْتَخْرَجَهَا. What does that mean? Yes?
He brought it out.
He brought it out. That's awesome. Did you speak Arabic? You're a rock star, man. You're totally awesome.
They took time to search and they make their best to find it.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. That's exactly the perfect answer. You know, if your wife, my wife is the one that does the packing around because I'm completely disorganized. Let's say you pack a big suitcase for a trip, right? And you pack the whatever it is, the medication right down at the bottom, or like whatever, and you're like asking her like, where is it? It's in the bag. You're like, looking, I can't find it, it's in the bag, you're looking, and it's right down at the bottom, right? And of course, afterwards she's upset because you messed up the bag, right? So, and you find whatever you're looking for. This is what happens when they find the cup. Like, they don't just...
There is difference between أخرج استخرج.
أيوة.
كبر الكلمة أو كبر المبنى يدل على كبر المعنى.
ما شاء الله. What she said is perfect explanation, right?
عفوا طلب دائما بتيجي قبل الاسم بالعربي طلب الشيء فما
لا استخرج غير استخرج.
طلب الإخراج منها من القطعة ليخرج.
ما هي
عملية الإخراج.
في فعل أمر استخرج وهناك استخرج.
So here the meaning. So the meaning is this. So you could have said أخرجها, but the more letters you add on the word in Arabic, the bigger the meaning and the bigger the effort. Let me give you a beautiful example from Surah Al-Baqarah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. And then he says, فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي. Right after the ayat of Ramadan. He could have said, فَأَجِيبُوا لِي. What's the difference between فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي and فَأَجِيبُوا لي? Like this.
فقل إني قريب.
فقل إني قريب.
فقل إني قريب. فإني قريب.
فإني قريب. فإني قريب. You know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us? He's telling us, if you want me to come to you, if you just call me and I will respond, right? And then he says, فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي. Like he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and I'm giving an example of Surah Al-Baqarah just so you understand the Arabic connotation. He says, when you ask me, when you make a dua, I will respond right away. فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. I will respond right away. فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ means I am super fast to respond. My SLA to you is 100%. And then he says, فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا. You know what فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا means? I'm waiting for you. You guys take your time when you're ready. I'll be here. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's emphasis. You don't have to get an appointment. You don't have to wait for a month. You don't have to take 5 hours in the reception. When you're ready to come, come. You might not be ready now, but when you're ready, come on, my doors will be open. Right? So this is another sense of this greatness of the wording in Arabic. So they pulled it out of the brothers things. كذلك كدنا ليوسف. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this is how we inspired Yusuf to plan. This word Arabic, kaid, kidna, means a plan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, for example, in another surah, إِنَّهُمْ يَكِيدُونَ كَيْدًا وَأَكِيدُ كَيْدًا. They think they're planning against me. The kuffar, at all times, by the way, not just at the time of the Prophet, they think they're planning against me. They think they're planning, like, really? You're planning against Allah? You know, in one of the meetings when the ayat we're reading at the beginning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the end, he says, فَلْيَدْعُ نَادِيهِ سَنَدْعُ الزَّبَانِيَّةَ. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the end of the surah, what does he say? He says, on the day of judgment, we're going to bring a Zabaniyah. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from them. You know, what is Zabaniyah?
The guards of the...
They're the bodyguards of hellfire, the angel bodyguards. Can you imagine, like, you're already in dunya when you see a bodyguard, a huge guy, 6 feet tall, full of muscles, you know, maybe they're terrifying. Can you imagine the bodyguard? So the kuffar, when they heard this, the Prophet ﷺ come and say, you know, they're joking. They say, hey, listen, you grab 2 of them and I'll grab 2 of them and we'll be fine. In front of the Prophet ﷺ. This is the planning that they have, right? كذلك كدنا يوسف. ما كان ليأخذ أخاه في دين الملك. This is now where we understand he did not want his brother to be taken. في دين الملك. What is في دين الملك? In the religion of the king, meaning under the law of the king, meaning under the law of the land, under the law of Egypt. Whatever punishment that was going to mean. إلا أن يشاء الله. Except that if Allah had will. نرفع درجات من نشاء. We elevate and rank whoever we will. وفوق كل ذي علم عليم. وفوق كل ذي علم عليم. Right? So this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also teaches us that the term deen refers to the king's law, and this is the law of the kufr that they had, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases the knowledge increases the level of those who have knowledge. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also said in the whole Quran, يَرْفَعُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ دَرَجَاتٍ وَاللَّهُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ خَبِيرٌ. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates the people of knowledge, right? Elevates the people of knowledge. So Islam is the deen of knowledge. And the Prophet ﷺ also had a hadith where he says, the superiority of the scholar over the devout worshipper. He says, فضل عالم على العابد. The benefit of the person who is a scholarly person over the worshipper. Worshipper is still good, to be clear. Worshipper is still good. But the one that has knowledge, right, it is actually much higher in stature. So he says, it's like the moon over the rest of the heavenly bodies. Because the moon shines light on the other heavenly bodies, right? So the benefit of the knowledgeable person over the worshipper, right? And this is something that we should know and understand. By the way, Adam alayhi salam, what was his superiority over the angels? Adam alayhi salam, our father Adam. Ilm, the knowledge. علم آدم الأسماء كلها ثم عرضهم على الملائكة فقال أنبئوني. Right? Adam's, our father Adam alayhi salam, well, he wasn't more powerful than the angels. He wasn't bigger than the angels. He could, even compared to the jinn, we as humans compared to the other creation, to the jinn are very fast. The jinn can fly up into space and come down. The jinn, Surah Al-Naml, what do they do with the throne of the queen? They go pick up the throne and come back. And while Sulaiman alayhi salam is still sitting down, right? And we can't do any of that. We're not as strong, as powerful as the angels. We're not as fast as the jinn. But subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this race knowledge. Gave this race knowledge. So what makes us special as human beings is, that's why, by the way, the book of Bukhari, the hadith of Bukhari, right? And Bukhari was a genius. All these ulama were geniuses, every one of them. But part of his genius was not just in his collection of hadith, but the cataloging of the topics. The topics. What's the first topic? Like chapter 1 of Bukhari. What is the topic? Kitabu Bad al-Wahy. The start of revelation. The start of revelation. That's his first book. Because unless you understand the start of revelation, you're not going to understand anything. Makes sense, right? It has 6 hadith. Now the next catalog of Bukhari is called what?
How the wahy came on the Prophet.
That's the first one. The second one is what? Who can guess? Iman? How many people say Iman? Kitabul Iman. There is a book called Kitabul Iman. Don't be shy. That's a good guess. Kitabul Iman. Okay, it's not Kitabul Iman, but that's a really good guess. It's actually Kitabul Ilm, the book of knowledge. And then it's Kitabul Iman. Because Bukhari's assumption was until you have sound knowledge, you can't build up on your Iman. You have religions today that have a lot of Iman and completely wrong knowledge. Christianity has a lot of Iman. They feel very spiritual, but their knowledge is completely wrong. Completely wrong. You know? And then you have another ummah that has the knowledge but has no Iman. You know, the Yahudi, they have all the knowledge, but they have no Iman. Right? So Bukhari cataloged it. He said knowledge comes first and then Iman comes second, because without proper knowledge you can't build on the Iman. Shall we continue next time, inshallah? Yeah, inshallah. Yeah, yes.
So what is the ruling for planting things from the story?
What is the?
So you planted the cup, right?
Yes.
So that is not really truthful. So what is the ruling?
Oh, yeah, but this is okay. Well, why don't I answer your question? Why don't I answer this question now? Actually, the answer to your question is in a couple of ayat where he says قال معاذ الله أن نأخذ إلا ما وجدنا متاعنا عنده إن إذا لظالمون. In ayat number 79, because they try to negotiate with Yusuf, they say, hey, you're a kind man. He has an old father. He has his father's very old, man. He's gonna die if this boy doesn't come back. We promise the father. So he says, Ma'ad Allah. He says, I'm going to take someone else other than the one we found this stuff in. So what does he not say, Yusuf alayhi salam?
He used the word stole.
He doesn't use the word stole. So he's actually indirectly saying he didn't stole. This in Islam is called taqwiyah, which is the truth. So basically the hukm of it is this is a good thing that he did. So part of the discussion I was going to have is what is considered halal. This isn't a prank. This is wahy from Allah. So I'm not going to call this a prank. But what is a halal prank? What is a haram prank? By the way, did anyone attend the Maghrib Institute lecture yesterday? So yesterday there were 2 lectures, Maghrib Institute. The first one was about joking and pranking. And the second ones are called the Prophet's Smile, Prophet's Style, right? And you could register for free. If you go on Maghrib online, you could probably still find them. One is by Kamal Maki, and the other guy's an Egyptian guy. I don't know his name, but there are limits in Islam to what you can and what you can't do. But this is wahi from Yusuf alayhi salam. This is not considered a prank or a line or anything like that. He genuinely wanted to protect the brother. And as we go on in the story later, you'll find when they go back to Yaqub alayhi salam, for example, Yaqub is very upset. He starts to cry. His eyes turn white, right? But he says, when again later on in the surah, at the end of the following page, he says, "Wa'alamu min Allahi ma la ta'lamun." So he's keeping his faith. Why is he keeping his faith? Why does Yaqub know that at the end it's going to be a good outcome? So even if he kept Binyamin, that's okay. It's not okay. But like, why?
Because he had a dream.
Because he had the dream. Yaqub still had the knowledge that at the end things are going to be okay. My boy had a dream. How it's going to pan out, he doesn't know. How it's going to pan out, but he knows that he had a dream and he knew that that dream is truthful from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which gets realized at the very end of the surah. So all throughout, these events upset him. Yes, they upset him 100%. And they look like they're drawbacks. But at the end, he knew things were going to be okay. Right? So whatever set of events goes on, at the end it was going to be okay. So I'm not sure I answered your question, but okay. في دعاء إن شاء الله اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا وأنت خير الراحمين ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار اللهم زدنا علما وارزقنا فهما اللهم اهدنا واهدنا واجعلنا سببا لمن اهتدى وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين جزاكم خيرا. Next week.
Next week, fundraiser.
Fundraiser we don't have.